It's like going back in time. I mean, this is like the lower 48 was 100 years ago.
It's nature in its simple form. You know, it's not the TV form.
You know there's nobody for miles. I mean, literally miles and miles. You're not going to see another soul.
This is what we get to do out here. We get to show people wild Alaska, or just nature, I guess, in its truest sense.
Because I think Alaska, for a lot of people, is a bucket list. It's one of those once-in-a-lifetime trips. I think it's something that words can't really express. It's beyond pictures, it's beyond words, it's beyond anything really tangible.
Welcome to Alaska, a place where you don't manufacture remote. Remote is everywhere you look. There are 29 volcanoes in Alaska, and one of the most active sits right behind the Redoubt Mountain Lodge. We're going to introduce you to this hidden jewel. One of the coolest things about this place is there's only one way in, and there's only one way out. This is Alaska's version of Grand Central Station.
There's a huge percentage of the state, like 98% or something, that's not even accessible by road. So airplanes, whether wheels or floats, have to be able to service people that live or want to run businesses in the wilderness.
Everything is flown into and out of the Redoubt Mountain Lodge on a float plane. Everything.
You fly for about 45 minutes down the inlet, down the ocean. And it's new and unique, but it's not quite spectacular beauty. It's just ocean and seashore and coastline. And then you get into the mountains all of a sudden.
A trip to Redoubt Mountain is like a trip back in time to another world.
I've flown into, I can't even tell you how many dozens of lodges over my flying career, and Redoubt Mountain Lodge is the most beautiful location, for one thing.
There are no roads, no cell phones, and no reminders of life as we know it. This is wilderness. This is what earned Alaska the honor of being considered the last frontier.
The main features is certainly the Mount Redoubt, is to be able to look at a 10,000-foot volcano, active volcano within view from a number of different angles around the surrounding area. But what's also become really popular is just the Crescent River Valley. Just a picturesque valley with rivers converging and flowing right through the center of it, and 4,000-foot peaks either side of you.
Peaks that seem to watch over you. Every turn, every view filled with towering mountains.
I think it's just more and more difficult to find completely remote locations anymore with no other operators and no other crowds.
At Redoubt Mountain Lodge, isolation is their specialty. The lodge is situated on 5 privately owned acres nestled in the shadow of Redoubt Mountain. All this in the middle of 4 million acres of national park and preserve. Here, you are alone. Just you, the other guests, the staff, and the wilderness.
We have 6 little private log cabins throughout the property. They each have their own bathroom, which includes a toilet, shower, sink, hot water, heat, with a thermostat inside for you to control. We have a queen and a twin bed in each cabin with just the best flannel sheets ever.
At Redoubt Mountain Lodge, remote doesn't mean roughing it.
Everyone says that the beds hold them hostage every morning and they don't want to get out.
There's a cedar hot tub enclosed in a gazebo with screen windows that open.
It has 300-degree views of Crescent Lake and the Chigmit Mountains with our hanging glacier. The main lodge is where all the activity happens. It's kind of the heart of the property. It's where all the life is, where I feed you, where you come to converse with the other guests, where everybody comes to just kind of chill and hang out. And we want to make sure that people are coming here and getting what they want. You're really feeling like the vacation they're on is theirs.
Life at Redoubt Mountain Lodge is simple for the guests. A simple place in the middle of the most wild, untamed land you will ever visit. In Alaska, everything is bigger, wilder, and more extreme.
We call it kind of rustic luxury because for everything that's here, it was brought in by a float plane, which is pretty incredible to think about. Nothing's really fancy 5-star rooms, but they're really nice and they're really comfortable, and the beds are, the beds are cozy, and the showers are hot, and the towels are fluffy, the food is good, and the beer is cold, and I think people get here and they realize what they really need to live and be happy, and I think it brings people back down to the basics of what do I need to be happy.
There are plenty of places to see bears in Alaska, and the first time you see a bear, it's an amazing experience. In fact, you'll see that coming up in just a second. But one of the things about Redoubt Mountain Lodge is you're seeing the bear in its habitat. No platforms, no crowds, it's just you, your guide, and the bear. When you talk about capturing a bear at Redoubt Mountain Lodge, what you capture is a snapshot or a memory that will last a lifetime.
As far as just capturing a bear in its natural setting, doing what it's supposed to do, I don't think there's any better way than just hopping in a john boat, putting it on the oars, with no sound of the motor or anything, just you and the bear.
There is something that happens to us when we experience nature one-on-one.
Why Redoubt Mountain? I guess primarily the bears. That was what we came to see. We'd never seen bears close up.
When you see nature as it is, something about our perspective changes, and the world will never look the same.
I think what I like about it is the sort of encounters with nature are unplanned and only lightly supervised. So you really feel that you are there looking down the nose of a bear, which happened to us this morning.
The bears are literally everywhere. You never get used to seeing them. But after a while, you realize at Redoubt Mountain, humans truly are the visitors.
We go up around the corner to one of those, you'll see. Looks like a bear amusement park out there.
Mother bears and their cubs wander near the lodge or downstream. You must travel upriver to find what the guides call the big boys.
Honestly, they could almost be performing for me. They're so close. They're just extraordinary.
The star of this performance is a 1,000-pound boar. Close enough you can hear the crunching bones of the sockeye he devours. What happens next, none of us will ever forget.
It was just pulling the boat gently down this very narrow river.
Very tight quarters with a lot of salmon.
And there was one in the distance, and it was a pool full of fish, so he was having a lovely time catching fish.
He was just doing his thing, so went up a little bit.
Quite close. I mean, I suppose 100 yards away. He was catching fish and, lots of lovely photos to take. I mean, so easy. And then he caught sight of us.
Could definitely see that he wasn't looking at a fish, he was looking at us.
And he started walking slowly towards us, and that's fine. I'm still clicking away, because somehow you feel safe behind the camera, So I'm clicking away.
So he started backing up, and he just gave us a little run, just to assert the fact that he was in charge of this area.
I think it's coming closer. But it was a false charge, so it stopped, so it's fine. But the photos I've got are just extraordinary.
Most other lodges, they're doing a little bit of boat bear viewing, but mostly it's land-based. But as far as safety and just flexibility, I don't think you can beat just being in one of these flat-bottom john boats. I mean, it's perfect for throwing a tripod in there.
Photographers come to Redoubt Mountain to capture the mountains. They come for the blue water, the birds, But most of all, they come to see bears living in the wild, doing what bears do naturally. In addition to overnight trips, Redoubt Mountain Lodge offers bear viewing day trips. Guests are fed a fresh cooked lunch and spend the day on the river viewing bears. If Alaska is considered remote, Redoubt Mountain Lodge takes it one step further.
It's untouched here. There's 5,000 people a year that get into this park, which is extraordinary. It's very, very lightly touched by humans, and that's a real privilege to be able to see this sort of landscape, which is majestic. We came to Alaska 4 years ago, and it's the only place we've been back to twice. So that says something about it.
Alaska lures plenty of fishermen. There are 3 million lakes in the state. Crescent Lake is glacier-fed, and it sits in the Lake Clark National Park. This is the centerpiece of the Redoubt Mountain Lodge. Whether it's sockeye or silver salmon or giant trout, the guides at Redoubt Mountain will help you catch them. As the morning begins, guests pull themselves out of those comfortable beds to a warm fire in the lodge. Clear skies greet them as they prepare for a day on the lake, a lake filled with fish.
Your group has your own guide or guides, and you guys set the pace and the schedule by all means.
Fishing is a major draw at Redoubt Mountain Lodge. Just look at these success stories. There's no excuse for not catching your quota at Redoubt Mountain Lodge.
Due to the fact that we're the only operator out here, you don't have to rush to get to a particular fishing location or be the first one at a trailhead. I mean, this whole area is pretty much ours only.
And besides, it's your fish story. But with pictures like these, you won't need to embellish unless you want to. Sockeye, red salmon, coho, silver salmon, chinook, king salmon, and pink salmon. You won't be disappointed. The guides really know what they are doing. They fish these rivers and know the holes where the big fish like to hang out. If the salmon won't bite, trophy-sized trout are a good substitute. Lake trout, Arctic char, and the Dolly Varden are all native species at Redoubt Mountain Lodge. And there's not a lot of competition to catch them.
Just kind of cast up in this fast stuff and let it just swing down into this softer stuff right there.
You don't have to be a skilled fisherman to catch fish around Redoubt Mountain. The guides really love what they do, and showing you how to love it too is just part of what they do.
So I think people come up here just to get away and just see nature how it's supposed to be.
When you're fishing, time slips by. What your watch tells you doesn't matter much out here.
This is all national park, so it's going to stay like this. It's like, in today's world where, you can pretty much buy anything you want, this is something that, you can't put a price on.
In between casts, you look up in any direction and see nothing but those mountains. At the end of the day, back at camp, back at the lodge, the fish stories start to unfold. As the night goes on, the sky's still bright, the stories and the fish get bigger.
A lot of times we get groups up here that the perfect way to end the day is down by the bonfire, and typically after dinner people finish their desserts and either grab a cup of coffee or maybe another pint of Alaskan amber, and they'll wander down to the bonfire and we'll have some s'mores and a little bit of guitar or mandolin playing and some singing, maybe a game of horseshoes or two. It's just a great time. People share the day's stories, and the fish that maybe were 20 inches at lunch then become 30 inches around the campfire at night, and it's just a fun time. I think it's really a great way to end the day.
Alaska's not all about fishing and bear viewing. It's really about what you want to make your adventure into, and Redoubt Mountain Lodge, they're willing to help you do just about anything.
That's what we do. We change lives.
sometimes we always just want to kind of step outside ourselves and our comfort zone and our, just kind of everyday life and just experience something, and that's definitely what you get up here.
Not everyone is going to step this far outside his or her comfort zone, but at Redoubt Mountain Lodge, you can if you want to. From water skiing on a glacier-fed lake to kayaking into inlets where there are no other people, this is Alaska at its best. If you like to hike, there are 8 hikes within a boat ride of the lodge.
Keep in mind too, these are all trails of use that we've discovered, so nobody else is using them, and you're not going to see anybody else other than Redoubt Mountain Lodge guests on them.
The meals are amazing. Heather works all day in the kitchen to keep guests well fed.
I try to serve, fresh as possible, healthy, because I don't want people to be on vacation and miss a fish because of me.
Connecting out here is limited to wildlife and the handful of people working or staying at the Redoubt Mountain Lodge.
We love the mountains and the water and being out here in nowhere. I mean, no cell phones. We have internet, but we kind of don't like to really push it a lot because we like people to be connecting with people. We tailor everyone's experience to what they want and what Alaska adventure they want to have. So it's not a one-size-fits-all.
When people pull me aside and just tell me about how many vacations they've been on and how many places they've been to, and this far surpassed everything. It's no longer your job. It's just enjoyable to be part of it. To be part of that.
It's the scale of the scenery and the scale of the landscape in Alaska in particular that's stunning. It's just different to anywhere else that we've been, and this place, Redoubt, is exceptional. I mean, we've traveled quite a bit in Alaska, and without a doubt, the scenery here beats everything we've seen so far.
This is Redoubt Mountain Lodge, a place you will come back to again and again.
It's really showing up on people's radar as a well-rounded Alaskan vacation where you can see glaciers, you can see bears, you can go experience fishing, whether it's salmon, trout, and you can all do it within one day.
But trust us when we tell you one day is not enough to truly experience the adventure of Redoubt Mountain Lodge and the Alaskan wilderness. There are plenty of lodges to choose from in Alaska, but you'll be hard-pressed to find anything like the Redoubt Mountain Lodge. Where else do you find a 5-acre piece of land with a lodge on it that sits in the middle of 4 million acres of national park? Where else do you wake up every morning with majestic mountains surrounding you and looking at a turquoise lake in front of you? If you want more information about Redoubt Mountain Lodge, just go to our website.